Kia ora Star Wars fans, welcome middle-aged Kiwi man collecting Star Wars figures. In this video we're going to go through some of the ways that you can protect your vintage collection carded figures, and you can see behind me I've got some different cases there, so we'll go through the main different types of cases. If you're new to collecting, hopefully this gives you an idea of how you might protect your figures. If you've been collecting a while, let me know in the comments below what you use to protect yours. Okay, now these are the three main types of protectors that I use for my carded vintage collection. So the first one is sort of like the gold standard. That's an acrylic case. So you see I've got my shock trooper in there. So we'll talk about those a little bit later. Then the most common type in my collection is these, I'll just call them clamshells because there's different versions of them. So again, we'll get into the different versions. And then the third type, these foldable cases. Anyway, those are the three main types, and we'll get into the details of each one. As I said before, I think the acrylic cases are sort of like the gold standard, and being gold standard, they're also more expensive, particularly in New Zealand. They're really hard to come by, and you can pick one up for about 30 New Zealand dollars, but it costs you another $30 to get it posted. But essentially, this is made of thick plastic. It's how they encase graded figures, if you follow the Action Figure Grader or other guys who collect them like Brett on Fed or Tim from Boss Bounty. They also come in a couple of different sizes. So there's a thicker size for modern vintage, and then there's a thinner size, which I've got this proof card in, but also fits the original Kenner. I've got a couple of original Kenner mocks, and I keep those in acrylic cases because, again, it's the gold standard. What else about these? So if they're not graded, they're just the cases. The bottoms do slide out, and you can slide the card back out. You see it has a couple of holders there. A couple of pieces of acrylic just to hold the card in place. So those are the acrylic cases. The high end, so the most expensive way to protect your vintage collection figures. Alright, second type of case we're going to look at is, I call these clamshells, but they're also star cases, but there's different brands you can get, and I've just randomly picked three different figures with three different brands. So let's take a look at Darth Vader Dark Times. He's in a Ultimate Guard. I don't know if you can see that logo down there, Ultimate Guard, but basically they're the same thing. That's Ultimate Guard. That's a star case. I think those are the sort of most famous sort of versions of these clamshells that you can buy. You can buy these off eBay and Amazon, all kinds of places. And then that one is something completely different, actionforcetoys.com. So there's all different versions you can get, but they're basically all the same thing. So let's have a look. You don't know how they work, you just pop the back off. The figure just sits in that tray, and they're actually quite useful if you've got a slight bend in the card, not a crease but a bend. It'll pretty much sort that out and keep that nice and flat. So these types of cases are pretty handy if you've got a nail or something like that, because they come with a hanger tab so you can hang them up. I've made these shelves especially because they've got the lip down the bottom, so I've got a little gap at the back of the shelf because you can see at the bottom of that it's got that lip there. So they don't sit really flat on a normal shelf, they kind of bend forward like that, but you can see there I'm using the gap in the shelf for that little lip there, and they sit okay there. And I also have some on these glass shelves, but once again the shelves are pulled out slightly and that little lip at the bottom is sitting at the back of the shelf. Alright, and the third and final style of case we're going to look at is these foldable ones. And they're actually, there's some really cool ones actually. We'll go right to left. But you do get what you pay for. This one here is in one that's called a retro Leica, and the plastic is very thin, so it's not the greatest one, but they are cheap. And I've found these ones. These are called Evo Retro. They're a little bit thicker and they stand a lot nicer. They're a bit more expensive, but they are very, very nice. Struggling to get those on Amazon at the moment, and this one I just got. It's Malco, and these are the thickest of all of the plastics, so these ones sit really, really nice. Yeah, really pleased with those ones. They are the most expensive ones, so like I said, you get what you pay for. You can get different sizes. This is another Evo Retro one, but it's a thinner one. Almost embarrassed to admit that I have any retro figures. It's a lot thinner. You can see your standard. So your thinner ones will only fit your vintage style or retro. You need the thicker ones, it's about 38 to 40 millimeters to fit in a vintage collection figures. And next I'm just going to show you how they work, because they come all folded up, covered in plastic. Here is one of these cases, and as you can see, it comes all folded up. You normally buy them in packs of 10 or 20 or whatever. These ones are actually packs of 6, but as I said before, they are a thicker plastic. So they come basically two-dimensional, and if you've got to fold them open a bit. So it can be a bit tricky when you're trying to do it on camera, but you basically push the corners out like that. The thicker the plastic, the harder it is to do, but the results are worth it. Just fold out all the tabs, kind of push it into place. The other thing I recommend you do is before you start putting any figures in, you test fold all of the little bits so that you know they're going to fold in nicely. So I'm going to put this figure in Dan figure in one, but what I do first, it's actually covered in this protective film, so it makes it look quite cloudy, but in fact they are super clear. So what I do is I do the bottom tab first, and I just peel off the film from that bottom tab, and then I'll show you what we do. You got to pick at it a bit and peel that off. Okay, so I've peeled all the film away from these tabs. I always like to do it from the bottom actually. So I will put this in, and then because I've already peeled the plastic off these tabs, fold those tabs in. There's a little tab there too, and fold that over like so. Close it up. It's way more awkward when you try and do it on camera. Right, and there he is in there, and as he's just like with the other one, I pre-peeled the top tabs. This is the fun bit. And these ones actually peel away really nicely. Peel that protective layer off. See, I like to get the figure mostly in there first before I do this. A lot of plastic involved in these. It's a plastic packet for a plastic figure that's got a plastic bubble, and it comes wrapped in plastic. But yeah, they look fantastic. So these foldable cases allow me to fit a few more figures on the shelf. You can see I've still got the star case at the back there, but I can have 3 in that slot instead of 2 star cases. Anyway, that's my review of protecting your vintage collection figures. Let me know in the comments section below. How do you protect your action figures? If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I'm middle-aged Kiwi man collecting Star Wars figures. Ka kite, and I'll see you on another video.